हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ.
So, in your journey as a teacher, which are the biggest misconceptions that you see around you about pranayama?
About pranayama. Misconceptions have been changing from time to time. What my father confronted as misconceptions and what I confront as misconceptions are totally different. Time to time they are changing. Misconception is an eternal reality in human world. No, the human world cannot be free from misconceptions. So they are always there. That is when human intelligence has understanding, it implies that it has misunderstanding. You cannot have mere understanding and no misunderstanding. When you are given tool for understanding, it is possible that misunderstanding will crop in and creep in. The misunderstanding, misconception is a perennial problem, but they change from time to time. Now, in my time, if I say Guruji's time, people were not, yoga was not in vogue, it was not fashionable to be doing yoga. Now we see millions and millions of people are doing yoga, taking to yoga. So it's a different realm of misconceptions that we have about pranayama, to say in pinpointedly. Now, before pranayama, it is important to teach shwasayam. Because shwasa is the vehicle. Now, if you do not know how to drive the vehicle and what is the vehicle, it is not proper to use that vehicle. You can't give your car to a mosquito. What will you do with it? You can't give it to bedbug. What will you do with the car? So you should know the usage of the car and what is the car made up of and why it is there. It should know. So the vehicle is the shwasa of pranayam, the prana. Therefore, we must be familiar with the vehicle first of all, because it is going to be containing the or driving the prana or will be driven by prana. In pranayam, the prana drives the breath, and in our normal walk of life, the breath drives the prana. So, shwasayam is an important concept with which we are not familiar. It implies, pranayam implies shwasayam. Therefore, Patanjali's definition, shwasa prashwasa gati vicheda pranayama. Shwasa prashwasa gati. So, he refers to shwasa and prashwasa, which is shwasa and uchwasa, or inhalation and exhalation, because they are vehicles. So, if you buy a vehicle, you want to know the brand of vehicle, you want to know the kind of vehicle, you want to know the power of vehicle, etc., where the vehicle can be used, how the vehicle can be used. You will go into the manual of it and you will read that this car can be driven this way. If these problems come, we have to look into these aspects, etc. That's what the car manual mentions. So, we must introduce them to the breath. Breath is not just for your being living, but breath is for you to keep functioning. All organs function because of your breath. Breath is for them, breath is by them. So, in Shwasayam, we will try to introduce this concept. How is the breath for your digestive system and how is the digestive system for the breath? Because otherwise you call it digestive system, that means it must eat something and digest. But if you have not eaten something, yet that has a function. It can function even if you have not eaten. When you are hungry, when you are fasting, or when you are not given food at all, yet they are going to work. They will turn out acids, you will get acidity problem. So, not having eaten, you get a problem, chemical problem. That means organs are working even if they are not processing the food that you have eaten. So, the point is all the organs of body are meant for your breath and breath meant for them. Make them identify the relationship. Today, it has nothing to do with it. It is only pranayama means mindful of inhalation and they take the inhalation, be mindful of exhalation and do the exhalation. It is meant for your system within, body, mind, system. My body, mind, psyche, system, it is meant for the system. So, system is meant for it and it is meant for system. Why not open out the relationship? Rather than dealing with only in-breath of the right and out-breath of the left or vice versa, or retention after inhalation, retention of exhalation, etc. So, we have to basically identify the breath as a conative agency, cognitive agency, conative system, cognitive system. So, the misconceptions will fall apart. We just cannot be making someone cast aside any misconception. We have to give them some wisdom. So, if I give you knowledge, the knowledge itself will set aside any misconception. Rather than telling you this is right, wrong, your idea is wrong, just telling you this is wrong, it will not be mended. I have to introduce you and get you under the influence of what is right. For the darkness to be dispelled, the sun should come up. So similarly, we don't have to bother about misconceptions which are n number of misconceptions. Why are you creating a battlefield of your life? You have one misconception, 10 people have 10 misconceptions. Why should I be battling? So we should not be trying to fight with the misconceptions which are prevalent. We have to give them knowledge. The knowledge itself will expel any misconception according to their deservations. When the sun dawns, if there are no clouds, you will get bright sun. If there are cloudy sky, you will not get so much bright sun. But sun has to come to dispel the darkness. So we should not bother about misconceptions. There are n number of misconceptions. For Easterners, Westerners, atheists, theists, people of intellectual background, emotional background, makeup of various kinds, different misconceptions are there. The battling is not advisable with misconceptions. So let's try to give them education, give them the concepts, let them give conceptions. So if the conceptions come, sun has risen, darkness will go away. Why fight with the darkness? You cannot be fighting with the darkness. We cannot fight with ignorance. We have to give them light. So, prevalent misconceptions are that you are dealing with the breath. The breath has nothing to do with the universe around you, universe inside you. It is only for your oxygen, your carbon dioxide. So, it is only intaking oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. Pranayama has become breath, and breath means either you inhale or exhale. So that's a prevalent misconception. And then people are told about pranayama means straight away they go for classical pranayama, do Ujjayi, do Surya Bedan, do Chandra Bedan, do Nadi Shodhan, do Anulom Pratilom. So straight away introduced to classical pranayama is not our tradition. Let us introduce them to breath, how the breath is not merely breath, it is everything in me. My becoming is because of my breath. I don't just live by my breath. My life is not just living for 60, 70, 80, 90 years. I should be becoming in 70, 80, 90 years of my lifespan. If I don't become in my life, what is the point in living for 90 years, 100 years? The becoming is important. So, the breath is something for your becoming. So we have our body manifest and mind manifest. Let there be becoming in our body and mind systems. So how the breath is working for your becoming in you, and what is the constructive process of becoming rather than destructive process of becoming. I can become negatively. I can become from normal human being, average human being to brutal human being. It's also becoming. I was a good person today, I have become a brute after 10 years. It's also becoming, but that is not advisable, that is not desirable. Becoming is that you must be scaling up and not scaling down. So the breath is meant for our becoming. rather than doing some pranayam. So they should be introduced to breath. Observe in particular location. Now everyone will say, I can feel the breath here. No one will say, I feel my breath here. No one will say, I feel my breath there. But we feel the breath here. So let's try to see what the nostrils and nose, how they feel the breath, and the breath is feeling the nose. If you slightly increase the volume, what happens? Marginally increase the volume of breath, see what happens. Marginally reduce the volume of breath, see what happens. Marginally increase the velocity of breath, see what happens. Marginally decelerate, see what happens. So that's how they should be introduced to this vehicle of the breath. Like you should know, if the vehicle is accelerated, what happens? If it is decelerated, what happens? It stops at some point in time, or it picks up the speed when you accelerate. Why the clutch? Why the gear? Why the brake? Why the steering? So in Shwasayam, that's why I say breathing is not done. Breath is driven. When I sit in the car, I don't make a car, I drive a car. So the car is to be driven. The breath is in movement within ourselves, so the breath has to be driven. So I have to decide whether I will drive north or south or east or west. I cannot be undecided and then drive the vehicle. It is meaningless. It is bizarre. It is nonsense, senseless. So I should know where I want to go and then I will drive the car. So the breath is driven. So let's try to understand how the inhalation is driven, how it can be driven. If I am given a car, I am not only given brake, clutch, accelerated gear, I am given a steering. Imagine a car without a steering. Everything is there, but no steering. Will you drive the car? Yeah. So the breath has to be steered. So the breath has a steering which has an important gadget. Like steering is so important in a car. You can't just be off the steering and go on driving the car. So the breath is steered, breath is driven. Give them this concept. Not breath is taken and breath is given. So inhalation you take in and exhalation you give. You don't say we never have this expression. We say take an inhalation. We will never say take an exhalation. Fact of the matter, exhalation can be taken. What is the way of taking the exhalation is while you are exhaling, from the abdomen, take it here, or from here, take it there. So within the body, exhalation is also taken. Outside, it is inhalation taken, exhalation given. But inside the body, beyond the nose and nostril, inhalation can be taken, exhalation can be taken, inhalation can be given, exhalation can be given. So this should be demonstrated to them in their practice. They should be made aware of it. So we say inhale from belly and we say exhale from belly or exhale into belly. If you exhale into belly, from where do you exhale? From chest. So the breath is driven from chest to belly when you exhale. And when you inhale, the breath is driven from belly to chest. You inhale. So inside the body, it's a different phenomenon. So introduce them velocity, volume of the breath in the nose. Around the nose is also a part they can feel. Mouth region, head region, brain region, slowly introduce them how the breath moves everywhere, then the chest, then the diaphragm, then the abdomen, then the waist, back, the trunk, etc. So we should introduce them to volume of breath and velocity of breath, because the breath is going to work in volume and velocity as a major classification. So how does it work? If you handle the velocity, what does it do? What happens? If you modify the volume, what does happen? What is done? So we should introduce to them, because it's an agency, it's a cognitive agency, motor system. So if you are not aware of motor system, what it does, what can you do with it? So it is karmendriya, internal karmendriya, therefore we should know what are its karmas, what are its acts. So this should be introduced to them in Shwasa and Pranayama. It's a cognitive instrument, cognitive organ. It knows. How does it know? What does it know? How should it know? What should it know? Now I should be knowing what is your query. I should not be knowing what is happening back in my house. Then that's a digression. Now that is not expected. I try to know what is going on in the home. I should know what is happening to your mind by my talking to you. So the breath is a cognitive system. It knows what should it know, what is relevant for it to know, what is irrelevant for it to know must be identified. So the breath as a knower, knowable, known should be introduced. Breath as doer, done, doing must be experienced, must be imparted. Their attention should be drawn. Breath does. Breath knows. Breath is doing. The breath is knowing. Breath is doer. Breath is knower. So this is the classical approach of teaching pranayama. So it will dispel the misconceptions. Otherwise, we are going to battle. There are misconceptions are enemies. Are you having a successful life by all the time battling your enemies and not dealing with the friends at all? Not handling the friends, not having the friends at all the time battling with the enemies. That's a miserable life. In philosophy, we don't have to battle with misconceptions. Give them conceptions, right conceptions. They themselves will do the job. You don't have to do that.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om